This is Things You Might Not Have Heard. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne, and I've got some news for you today. Today is the 23rd of September. It happens to also be a Monday, and we've got great things going for you, including that beautiful lady right there. That is Ajaya Wilson, who made a big numbers this weekend and made more big numbers. We'll talk about her, plus 10 full stories from the weekend that you deemed as conversational. We'll explain how that all works going forward. Now, if you're watching the video, you're seeing something that looks a lot like the old stuff. We've got some few upgrades of equipment, and hopefully this thing goes well. Hopefully my voice is matching the video. We'll see when it's all over. Otherwise, if you're watching the audio, none of that makes any sense. Meanwhile, like I said, 10 news stories on the weekend that you deem this conversation. We'll explain that once we get past the headlines and go into deeper things today. Now, I want to remind you that our website is always on, always there at thisistheconversationproject.com. Go there for more details on how we do things, the whys and how we do things, and sometimes, unfortunately, the wheres. Sometimes the where is a little sad. We also want you to email us with your comments, complaints, and all concerns at the Gmail address, theconversationinbox@gmail.com. So we're getting back into the swing of things with a new flow, a new system, some new buttons to press. So bear with us as we get this things. If you're watching the video, it might get weird. Listen to audio. It'll be weird having me talk about the video being weird, but we'll work these things out over a couple of days and it'll get better. I promise. As I already said, today is Monday, September 23rd, 2024, and we've got great news for you for this day. Mostly great news. Some of it's a little weird, but let's get into all that news today. Starting off with our first headline for the morning. And the headline for story number one reads, Arizona Supreme Court rules 98,000 people whose citizenship is unconfirmed can vote in pivotal election. This is coming to us from Fox News. So obviously they're a bit bent on what's going on, but the coverage of this story happens on all sides. This is just how Fox sort of wrote it, and the update or the robot editor gave us for this story here. The Arizona Supreme Court ruled that nearly 98,000 voters whose citizenship status hasn't been confirmed yet can actually vote in state and local elections. The decision was pivotal as it ensures these individuals have access to full ballots despite their citizenship documents not being verified. The case centers on voting rights and how Arizona handles proof of citizenship requirements and critical issues ahead of upcoming elections. Now, if you may remember, all of like last week, the House of Representatives, a big major house, was trying to pass a law to add into the resolution to keep the government funded, not have a shutdown, to put in some sort of safeguard to verify all citizenships of all people voting. Now, obviously, you must be a citizen to vote, and this is what this issue kind of hits right here as example, because these people's citizenship aren't actually confirmed, and 98,000 is a lot of them. I will admit that. I will say that, and I'm not, crazy liberal or crazy conservative. Just 98,000 people who you don't know if their citizenship is verified is a lot of people to verify last minute. And we'll see how this works in Arizona going forward. Now, the biggest thing to disenfranchise people is not allow them a voice, not allow them a chance to vote. And that's what we're trying to keep from happening in this case. People will complain, people will fight. And like I said, that's the Fox News coverage on this one, is the fact that it happened. But we'll see how it actually comes down. And did not say they can vote in national elections, just local and statewide elections, which makes more sense. We'll see how this one plays out in upcoming days, and literally like 43 days when the real election comes through, the big election comes through. Let's talk actual candidates right now. Starting off with Kamala Harris, who has fundraising triples in August, triple over Trump earned. And while people are watching to see what's going on in August, because you have to go a month back to get the full numbers, Kamala Harris, vice president, currently running for president for the Democratic side, and the campaign for the Democratic National Committee said they raised $257 million, and that's more than triple the $85 million that was raised by Donald Trump in the same month, and what the National Committee as well. This gap shows fundraising is an issue. Also shows that Harris is the hot ticket right now, the new hotness versus the very, very old busted Donald Trump, and the even older and definitely busted, because he's not running anymore, Joe Biden. The financial advantage means more money to spend, more stretch for what's going on, and more ways to get their message out. Although Trump doesn't seem to need that much money because his message always gets out regardless, Harris has the money to play more ads, buy more campaign spots, and do more of the on-the-ground stuff that you normally see in campaigns. Cash on hand seems to be about $286 for the Harris campaign and $214 on the Trump campaign. So Trump had a lot of good head start money going forward, but Harris is catching up, not only in the polls, but in the money. Speaking of Kamala Harris, Vladimir Putin gave a retort a few months back saying that, he wouldn't mind seeing Harris in office. He thinks he could work with President Harris. Putin apparently was joking about saying that he supported Harris in the election. In fact, it was walked back officially by the Kremlin officials and the foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, who basically said, yeah, it was kind of a joke. Not that he was so much endorsing Donald Trump, but he was just sort of poking the bear that is the U.S. Nomination system. The fact that Vladimir Putin made himself president like 20 years ago and will be president until he decides to stop being president. That is what we got going forward here. Now, he said Putin was being lighthearted and just doing things out there to kill some of the tension in global politics, doing what he can and just, showing that he's a laughable, lovable guy. That Putin guy is. Now, maybe he's playing checkers and we're playing jacks. We're not sure because you never know with Putin. But, it does tend to add a little levity to the situation. Actually, it scares the hell out of me that he's really putting this much effort into this one. But he's saying his support for Kamala Harris was a joke, which may mean his support for Donald Trump is not so much of a joke. Our fourth headline for this morning. This is a very complicated story, and it's moved very quickly, actually. So it's one of those things that is going because the funeral for the judge happened Saturday or Sunday, and the arrangement for the sheriff is going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, I believe. But the headline we are going to start with from the beginning of the story is sheriff charged in killing of judge inside Kentucky courthouse. Now, it's a bit more complicated as that, as I said, but the edited headline from the robot editor gives us Letcher County Sheriff Sean Steins has been charged with first-degree murder after allegedly shooting and killing District Judge Kevin Mullins inside the judge's chambers. The incident occurred following a reported argument between the two at the Kentucky courthouse, leaving the community and court system shaken. Steins was arrested shortly after the shooting. Case is obviously under investigation. These two have been, I'm not sure if they've been friends, but they've been colleagues for quite some time. In fact, a report said they had lunch like that day. They basically were hanging out in something that was not so much work related, but just sort of, a shooting the breeze type situation. And apparently this shooting came about after an argument over abuse of clerks in the courthouse, something bad there. This headline does not give you that. So click the link to see more of the details for the story. This is disturbing. This is bad. This is big, but we're going to go deeper into it as we get more details. When the arraignment happens, we'll get more onto that one and talk more on that level that's there. But right now, this is one we're going to follow nationally for a while because it's a big deal. It's a pretty awesome, not in a good way, awesome in just the scope of what's happening and what goes down in the local court systems around the nation. Let's go to our fifth story. Story number 5. 3 Mile Island nuclear plant to help power Microsoft data centers. The 3 Mile Island nuclear plant was shuttered down and is going to be opened back up in 2028. Not exactly soon, but soon enough. It's going to power Microsoft data centers. Why? AI needs a lot of energy, and nuclear energy is relatively clean and relatively easy to make. And so this data center will be powered by the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant, which was shut down many years ago after one of the largest meltdowns or near meltdowns of a nuclear plant in history, at least here in the States. The plant's going to contribute 835 megawatts of nuclear power to the grid, and then back going to go mostly to Microsoft to power its AI and cloud data centers with clean, carbon-free energy, reducing emissions. That sounds great. Now, there's not as much to fear as you may think it is because, yes, they shut this thing down because they thought the reactor was going to blow up. That was just one reactor, one tower. A tower that was totally safe and had no issues is operational. They're not firing up the bad one. They're going to turn on the good one again and see what happens. And we will see what happens. Now, if they can find a way to make more power and keep cleaner energy out there for AI data centers, because that's an issue. AI eats up a lot of power. Computing eats up a lot of power. And what we're seeing right now, or literally hearing right now, are data center farms where you hear all these big wind mills, which are actually fans, because you have to cool the computers down. And they build them in the middle of nowhere because you think you get money and no one hears them. But trust me, they get heard. We'll see if something like this will offer us actual cleaner energy, actual better energy, if that's a word, which I'm sure it's not, and how we go forward with this reactor. Because trust me, people's eyes are on 3 Mile Island. If your eyes are on us this morning, we're doing this live again. So hopefully you're enjoying how this is happening. As I said, we were able to just sort of Jimmy rig and Frankenstein some new equipment for a while. More stuff coming. So thank you for all the support you gave us in that one. But we need you to get people up and get people watching this, because now that we're live, that means this is coming out a full hour ahead of when it's coming out when we're doing live to tape. So it's good. We're trying to go live again about 5:40 in the morning, 5:30, 5:40. We'll figure out the time on that one. Then we have the full 6 o'clock hour Central Time to edit and do all the stuff there. In the meantime, we need you to tell people this is good, so the people on the East Coast will see it, and people who are up Central Time will kind of rub their eyes and see it, and people who see it later will see that it's good enough, and that even though they've missed about an hour or so of live news. But all that rambling is to say we need 3 things from you in this call to action segment here. Like the video you're watching live, or like the clips that you're watching in replay, or like any of our stuff out there, so that we get more social proof on the goodness, if you will, of the Conversation Project and things you might have heard specifically of this video. Now, I want to say real quickly, and I don't want to drag down the show too much, but we are ecstatic about all the brand new viewers are coming in, the brand new comments coming in, lots of big comments and replies, especially coming to YouTube as we're growing there. Although some of them scare me a little, but it's conversation with all the people and what they want to think about it. So we want your conversation. Be honest, be open, try not to be crash and crude, because YouTube will blanket those out. But we need you to like the stories you're seeing here. We need you to share what you like to other folks, or what you don't like. Maybe you really don't like what I'm saying. You want more people to be angry at me. That's okay. Share it with folks so you can bring up the anger and vile. As long as you watch it, we'll take the views. And subscribe so you don't miss out on us when we come out to you, whether we're live at 5:30 in the morning on Central Time, you're there, or whether you're seeing us on a replay someplace else. You will get a chance to see us if you subscribe to the videos here for live review. Subscribe, you'll see us in your feed later on in the day. Subscribe to some of our other venues on X, on Threads, on TikTok, and you'll see more of us in more ways. Back to the news. And back to story number 6. The Mexican president blames the U.S. for bloodshed in Sinaloa as cartel violence surges. The president of Mexico, Mr. Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, has partially blamed the United States for the rise in cartel violence in Sinaloa. He is not going to build a wall to keep Americans out, but he is saying the U.S. has a role in fueling demand for illegal drugs and the flow of weapons across the border, which he argues has exacerbated in violence in Mexico. Now, here's the sort of thing about the war on drugs and why we as United States people are, beating our chest like King Kong, but not quite getting the point. We can say all the fentanyl is bad. We're going to stop the flow of fentanyl, but it's also supply and demand. If it were Beanie Babies, and Beanie Babies were bad, and Beanie Babies were ruining the economy, and Beanie Babies were making people sick, we would say we're going to stop the flow of Beanie Babies. But someone's going to find a way to make Beanie Babies, because somebody who really wants a Beanie Baby will find a way to get it. That's sort of how the fentanyl thing is. It's not just drug dealers, really want to sell drugs. It's that people really do, want to buy drugs. And since that's the case, it's an easy market. And with so much flowing through Mexico, it becomes a big issue for violence for the people who want to control that market. So it's not as easy as just shutting down the suppliers, because new suppliers will pop up. There's new folks finding ways to make things happen. It is how it works. Unfortunately, what we need to do is work with Mexico and not just blame Mexico for all the stuff. And Mexico needs to work with us, not just blame us for all the stuff. Will that happen? We shall see. Let's move on to Elon Musk, technically, or move on to the border, technically. We're moving on to Cards Against Humanity, officially, as they're suing Elon Musk and SpaceX over land bought to curb Trump's border wall. If you may remember a while back, Trump wanted to build a wall. He still wants to build that wall. And Cards Against Humanity, the company behind it, bought a bunch of land on the border so they could not connect piece to piece, so Trump could not build the wall because they wouldn't let him build it there. Elon Musk tried to buy that land for way below market values. And because of that, Cards Against Humanity is filing a lawsuit against them for trespassing and damaging land as they were doing the surveys for this. It is overly complicated, but yet oh so simple. It was the trolling of a lifetime to keep Trump from completing his border wall, which was never going to be completed as it is because it's kind of impossible to do. But it stopped the, I'll say, insanity of the talk for a while and stopped sort of chatter on it and had us focus on more other things that were just as important, but not quite as comical as build a Mongolian wall across Mexico so that people can't get past it. My words. My words. We're going to see how this lawsuit goes out against Musk specifically on the land itself and what actually is going on with the land. Since this is now going to court, more likely, we'll find out more about the land itself and if President Trump actually wins the election coming up in 43 days, whether he'll find a way to do some sort of, order to just take the land back and make this wall that he really, really wants, and whether he'll put Trump International Wall on it, which is what I really want to see is going to happen. Let's wrap things up or get close to wrap things up on greater notes. We have one other story that's a bit of a downer before we get to a really cute story. But story number 8 for this morning is Ajaya Wilson, who was named unanimously the WNBA's MVP. She also got a 1,000 point this season. She's the third time winning the MVP award. And so while Caitlin Clark is all of the rage, she's got a ways to go to beat her elders, to beat the veterans, to see how she's going to go on. She, that being Clark, will probably win the Rookie of the Year award, most likely. But Ajaya Wilson showing that the aces are aces and that she has everything going forward. It's all 67 first place votes for this award went to Ajaya Wilson, third time winning it, of course. She won in 2020 and 2022. So every 2 years, it's Ajaya Wilson's year, apparently. She's Hall of Fame caliber, definitely, as this league is growing. And with all the eyeballs this year, particularly, you can thank Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark for those eyeballs. But guess what? You know who's getting the most out of this? The vets. The veterans are winning on this and all ends on this one. All right. So we're doing this story because we are about being in people's business. That's what it is. The Conversation Project is about what's conversational, what people are paying attention to. And boy, did people pay attention to this one. This was an early Friday story. We had a lot of responses basically saying, why does this man need to be babied? Why does this man need taken care of? Which are, valid points. And we're only talking about this man in particular because he's famous and we're not. This man particularly is Ben Affleck. And the story we have, the headline we have, and I'm almost positive this is a fake story, but we're going with it anyway because you guys engage with it. Jennifer Garner joins Matt Damon in Ben Affleck's Mercy Squad. So a Mercy Squad, a group of folks have joined together to make sure that one man, Ben Affleck, is getting some support in his divorce and things going on. His boy, Matt Damon, always around, always there. He even did the Dunk Kings commercial, which he thought, which was joked about in the commercial. This was stupid. And Jennifer Garner, his ex-wife, is now in the Mercy Squad. His ex-wife is now helping him get over his ex-wife, Jennifer Lopez. Yes, it's extremely confusing, extremely just out there. But the group is focused on helping Affleck navigate his personal challenges and avoid falling back into old habits, which is the big one is addiction issues. Garner is Affleck's ex-wife, of course, somewhere, and I get lost where it is, but Garner was married to Ben Affleck. I think they got married right after or right before Daredevil, that role of time. And she actually continues to play a vital role in his well-being, basically has been a good friend all this time and has been supportive of him in his marriage, his remarriage to Jennifer Lopez, and now in his divorce and difficult times. We are hoping for the best for Affleck. So we want that because well, like I said, there's some people you just kind of not like, but we don't have a not like, we don't have an evil bone for Ben Affleck in particular. So we want him to get better. And in this month, that's being Suicide Awareness Month, we definitely don't want something deep and dark for something like this for Mr. Affleck and for you as well. This is a story that really is about being nosy and petty because as news nerds, we know we are nosy and petty. More along the lines of pets, not petty, is a zoo in China who had to admit that the pandas they had on display were actually big fuzzy dogs painted, look like pandas. A zoo in Guangdong in China faced backlash As the visitors discovered that they went to go see the pandas, they were actually chow chows, painted look like pandas. They're still cute. They're just not bears. And they're not black and white. The zoo admitted to the ruse after social media outrage, explaining that the dogs were presented as a unique attraction. Incident follows similar controversies where zoos have presented animals to the public. Now, this is not the same zoo that had the sun bears that people are like, dude, that's a dude in a bear suit. This is not the same zoo, and those bears were actual bears. But apparently, China is getting creative in its zoology and doing what it can to have animals in the zoos and faking them. Now, not quite unicorns, but panda bears that are actually fluffy dogs. You've got to say they put some effort into that one. Let's go to our teaser story. Our teaser story is a story that we provide for you that is allowing you to get a chance to see what you can see and see what we can do and what we can present to you along the lines. Now, today's teaser story is the story on the sorry about that. I can't see my video, so I just lost my picture, so I can't see exactly what I'm showing. But today's teaser story is about California governor signing into law a plastic ban. All shopping plastic grocery bags are banned in California, or will be banned when the law comes to effect if everything's going. It's passed. It's signed into law. California says no more grocery bags, no more shopping bags. What's that mean for you? Well, if you're in California, that means they'll probably you either bring your own sacks or they'll go back to more papered bags. Is this going to be a great thing? We're going to see. It's going to be an interesting go to see if this thing actually works out as well as they think it's going to. Now, you want to talk about this one? You've got to put the work in, and it's fairly simple. You just go to our feeds. They're on Facebook. They're on X. They're on Threads. Threads.com or threads.net/@ the Conversation Project, or This is the Conversation. I still have to get that remembered. We have ourselves on Facebook, facebook.com/This is the Conversation Project, and of course, x.com/th_conversation. What you get from those places is you get news stories. Every 50 minutes, we post news stories to these places. And like this California governor story where their grocery bags are banned, you will see whether you want to talk about it or not. And we will know from you if it's worth talking about. And you just engage in the stories on those feeds. Like them, love them, hate them, share them. The more you engage with the stories, better chance we have of seeing them in the wild to see which ones are good enough. Today, 10 stories from the past weekend, 90 stories out there, basically 30 top stories for the weekend. We gave you 10 of them here, including the panda bear story. Now, I have to admit to you, the panda bear story overtook the Friday story we teased about judge denying the effort to halt the state fair's ban in Texas for guns. And it was there. It was in the lineup. And then all of a sudden, I took a look and refreshed and saw that the Facebook love went to this panda bear story. And so we jettisoned this one. Your engagement really does tell us what stories to talk about every single day. 8 stories for the rest of the week from the top half of each day's stories are coming to you for Tuesday through Friday. So if you want to get those in there, if you want to talk about no shopping bags, no plastic shopping bags in California from now on, it's very simple. You just go to our feeds as you see stories pop up. And if this one's there, like it, love it, hate it, share it, engage in it. Higher engagement score, the better chance we're talking about it. The next iteration, in this case, tomorrow. Now we're going to talk about this week's sponsor. This week, the Conversation Project's work is sponsored in part and mostly things will be in our commentary by me and revising a book coming up. Now, this is part of a mea culpa because as my birthday, the 29th of September is coming up this Sunday, and we're not done with So 50 Happened. So 50 Happened is not happening by my birthday. So it could still be my birthday present. Just won't get it on time. It'll be delayed for everyone. So this week, while I should be promoting that new book, which should have came out 2 days ago, should have been published 2 days ago, we're promoting an older book just a few months back. But we promote this every single day in the fun stuff. If you go to the feed, if you watch us on YouTube, you can see things you might ought to know. We can still do the positivity. We still do the affirmation there. But we're going to promote it here for the week and get everybody a chance to get into it. 100 daily affirmations for positivity and confidence. This is something that I've been leaning heavily on a lot this year, as this year, rolling up into 50, should be more of a celebratory year, but it's really more of an extension of some downer things. Operation Chaos, if you may remember that one. So if you're looking for a way to bring some positivity and confidence to your life, then you look for something that's pretty simple and really inexpensive. You don't need a retreat. You don't need to go get a ice bath. You don't need to go spend lots of money and lots of time with strange people. Sit with yourself, grab a copy of this book, and go over some affirmations and help yourself get better by yourself. Now, affirmations don't work for everyone. We know that, but I do have a chapter at the front that explains why why affirmations can work for you, and most importantly, why each affirmation in the book is good enough for you. And if it's not still good enough for you, you can rewrite them as you want to. But check out the book. $10 on Amazon as a paperback, $5 as a Kindle book electronically. You can find it by clicking the link in this presentation for 100 daily affirmations for positivity and confidence. Or if you aren't someplace where you're seeing the link, search for 100 affirmations pain, P-A-Y-N-E, on Amazon, on basically all the bookstores. We're in all the bookstores. They share them with other bookstores. And whatever bookstore you prefer, get a copy of this book today. We want to take a quick moment to talk about us and talk about the Conversation Project. The Conversation Project lives online at thisistheconversationproject.com. We want to remind you that we do what we can to give you the best in news and sometimes the worst in news, but definitely the most conversational pieces in news. We don't follow a script where we're looking for, if it bleeds, it leads. We're not following an agenda that needs to be anything particular, like some sort of agenda, but we do our best to make sure that you are getting news that you want to talk about. So that's why we put the feeds out and give you news stories every 50 minutes for you to basically vote up to see that we're talking about. But we need your help to make this happen. This is where the calls to action come. This is why I say like, share, and subscribe, so there's less calls to action to deal with and more just fun stuff to do. You can go to our website. This is the Conversation Project. You can follow us on our feeds on Facebook, X, and Threads. You can email us at theconversationinbox@gmail.com. That's all totally free. We also ask you to stop by our website and check out the sponsors page. All of our sponsors are affiliate links, including the books. The books are basically commissions off where I'm getting the books from. So I get a commission for book sales. So if you buy a book, I get a couple bucks. I think I get $3 per book or something like that. If you buy something from one of the other sponsors, we get a small percentage commission from what you buy. If you don't buy, we don't get anything from there. It's that fair. You can also stop by our partnerships page and directly partner with us. It's really, really fun, really cool, really easy to do. You just decide what tier you want to, or do one-time donations, and it goes to funding things. Your donations, your help, your support is funding small bits and pieces of technology so that we can upgrade and do things better and faster and look more sharp going forward. We have an older camera, but a newer interface to allow us to do this to work and hopefully be in sync with voice and sound. You'll see once we get the replay done, I'll do my air checks. But in order to help us get these things done, we need your help. Consider sponsorships, consider going to being a partner, and most importantly, do the stuff that's for free to keep us going. Follow us on the feeds and let us know what stories are worth talking about so that we know what stories are worth talking about. That's the most important thing you can get done for us in these moments like this. Your moment like this, because some people wait a lifetime. We just wait till the next day. And now we're at the point where we'll wait till the next day because we are going on to wrap up on this Monday, the September 23rd edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard for 2024. I'm Jay Cleveland Payne. Not quite as pithy as I thought it would be, but we were rattling on about what's going on. If you enjoy the look and feel of this thing here, let me know in the comments, either in the video or send me an email, and we'll talk about this one. I'm tweaking to make things work a little bit better, although it's the old ways. Some newer things pieced up there. We got to point some cameras, do some things. We'll get some other things going on. I had a whole other elaborate setup where I thought I could see things. Didn't quite work out the way I thought it was. We'll play around with that one in a bit as well. But if you think this was pretty good, let us know so we can work on better things moving forward. In the meantime, follow us on the feeds, consider being a partner, and make sure you're here tomorrow for another edition of Things You Might Not Have Heard. Oh, by the way, coming soon, I guess we'll have to worry about the recording of that one now because we're not playing this one live, is the Things You Might Not Have Heard. No, it's the things you might ought to know. We may just do that live too and back to back. We'll see how that works out because, we're experimenting today. So check that out as well. If you're missing the live stuff here, get the other stuff and make it go forward. Love you. Mean it. Let's hit the stop button and then let's do this thing again tomorrow.